push Docker image to Elastic Container Registry, or ECR in AWS. So we already created an image last time about our REST API demo project, the ingredient API, and we can successfully run it in our local host. Now we want to use this image for the deployment onto a server or our EC2, or later on we will see the ECS service in AWS. Okay, so now the first step is, after we created this image in our local computer, we want to push this image onto the registry, which is similar to Docker Hub, which is a public registry, but this ECR is a private registry. It's only available inside AWS, and whoever has the access to AWS of your account can pull the Docker image from it. Okay, so now let's just firstly create a registry, and the name is called registry. You can think of it's just like object storage. It's just save all the Docker images with its meta information on the server, so that we can query, we can pull the Docker images out of it. Okay, so that's what we call it, a repository and a registry for the image. Okay, so now we want to set a visibility. Okay, so we have a public and private, so just use private, okay, for now. And then we have a name, okay, field here, and we can just call it SAP training repository, okay, repository, or we can just use our project name. Okay, for be more specific, let's just use ingredient REST API. Okay, and then rest of them are, we can just keep them at the same, and we don't need to encrypt it. Okay, for now, since we didn't talk about KMS yet, so we can just click on create repository. Okay, so it's very fast, and the the repository will be created with the name ingredient REST API. This is the URL. Okay, it's a public URL actually. You can, but nobody can pull the image publicly, but we can use a public network to access it. Okay, because if you want to pull the image, you need the credentials. You need to prove that you have the access to the AWS. Okay, to the access of the ECR. All right, so now we can, how we push the Docker image, we can click on here, and there is a view push command, or we can just use here, this button. Okay, after that, it will give us all the command that we need. Sorry about my notification, let me mute it. And so this is the command that we can run in order to push our Docker image into AWS. Okay, so just give a quick scan. What does it do? Okay, so based on what kind of operating system you want to use, you use Windows, you just follow this here, the prompt. If you are using Mac or Linux, you can use this one here. Okay. First step is retrieve authentication token and authenticate your Docker client to your registry. So basically what this does is, firstly we have to tell our local Docker that we need to log in to the registry, all right, in AWS. So basically you can just like create a link from your local Docker to the AWS ECR. So this is the first step, what it does. Okay, so it will return us a token for this command, and then it will pass the command to this Docker login command. So it will log in using our AWS account name, but the password is gonna be here. Okay, so the token returned from this command. How this command can get a token? It is because we already set up our AWS command line configuration last time. Remember the secret key and access key, those are already inside our system, so that we can use this computer to get the token, log into ECR, and then pass the password or token to the Docker login command, so that the Docker could be linked to the ECR. And then the next step is to just build our API. We already did, actually. This one we can skip because last time we already built our tag. It's the same command, Docker build tag, a name, and then this dot, right? And after the build completed, then we need to tag it again. So tag it using AWS format. Okay, so this is the AWS tag here. This is our own tag in the local. This is gonna be the tag. We're gonna push it into the AWS. And then next is we have to run this code docker push, and then we're gonna push this image, okay, to our repository, because we already linked them. So once you push, it will push it to the repository. It's very similar to Git if you think of, okay, even though they are not quite the same thing. But firstly you log in, secondly you build your local, set up, everything's ready, then push them to the server. Okay, so this is the process of pushing the code. So we can actually run them one by one. Make sure you are under the correct folder. Okay, for here, only this one you need to make sure your folder is the correct folder, because we have the dot of the current folder. Rest of them you can do it anywhere, okay, because we already did this, so it doesn't matter. We can just have any command, and we do this first. Okay, hit enter, and it gives us an error, okay, so saying that an error occurs, okay, when calling this operation. The security token included in the request is invalid. Okay, so if you have the same issue as me, just to make sure that you double check about your AWS configuration. Okay, so the AWS configuration is under the .aws folder. Okay, so let's just get .aws folder. It's a hidden folder, okay, even for Windows and Mac or Linux. And then we see the credentials. Okay, so the access key and the secret key, they should be good. Okay, and how to see if they are good or not, go to the service of IAM, right? So IAM is the service that we can set up the securities and the users. Okay, so this is the only user we created, and then the security credentials. Okay, so make sure the ID access key, okay, is the one that you are using here, and also this one, okay, the secret key should be already there, because this is the only where we save the key. In AWS it doesn't have it, but you can see here my status is inactive. Okay, somehow maybe I changed it accidentally, but let's just make it active. Okay, then I can start using this key, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so if you lost your secret key, okay, if you think, okay, I already have this here, but I don't have it here because I lost it, then delete this one and then create a new one. Okay, so then put the new one to the information to here. Okay, so after that, run the command again. Okay, and it will give us login succeeded. Okay, so successfully logged in. So then that's the first step. It's done. Then we are successfully logged in to ECR. And then look at the command. Next is to build the tag name, probably different. So let's just look at our images, and our name is SCP/REST API. Right, so this is our name. His name is this one. So or just change the rest of the command, or you can just build it again, but make sure you are under the projects folder, okay, with the Docker file. And then we can just use this command to retag it again. Okay, so this command is here, and the only thing is we need to change the here. Okay, so SCP REST API. Let's just change those to SCP REST API. Okay, latest. Okay, so this is the latest version. And this is also latest. Okay, good. And then hit enter. So now if we look at the Docker images, okay, now we got two, right? So if they are just a different tags, they are having the same location, okay, same file. They're just different names. Now we're gonna push this one, okay, to the server, because AWS only allow us to push this kind of tags, not your customized this tag. Okay, so then the next step is just to push this. Okay, so the name looks weird. It's just account name of our AWS. Okay, DKR, ECR, and the website, and then slash, and then the project name. Okay, the repository's name. All right, and then hit enter, and it will take some time to push to the server upload, because it's relatively big, right? It's 500 megabytes. It depends on the network, so it may take more than expected. but only the first time. If because Docker images are layered architecture, so if you push multiple times, it won't push everything there. If you already have it, okay, so you can see it will tell you that the layer already exists, so you don't need to push anything, even though you push multiple times. Okay, so this is the ECR, and now after everything is done, then we can just refresh this page, and we'll see the new container. Sorry, the new image. Okay, obviously I have to go inside here, and here you can see we have our image now. Okay, so the latest version, and then we have the size is compacted. Okay, compressed, and then this is the URL. Okay, it's not showing, but we can copy it. Okay, copy it and can paste it here. Okay, so this is the URL. All right, so this is how we push the Docker image to ECR. Very straightforward. Basically, you just make sure that you create a new repository in ECR, and then once you create the new repository, make sure you have the access, okay, to the ECR by using AWS CLI. Double check about your keys, okay, the secret key and the security key in IAM, and then run the command according to this instruction. Okay, so log in first, build your image, tag your image, and push your image. Okay, so those are the steps. All right, so next we're gonna pull this image out of our server. From out of the ECR to our server, and then start the project in EC2 instance. Okay, thanks.